Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the webcast of REGIS-TR. At our customer's request, this conference will be recorded. During the presentation, you have the opportunity to ask questions via the text box in your webcast window. Your questions will then be answered at the end of the conference. May I now hand you over to Mrs. Nuria Sagrado, who will lead you through this conference. Please go ahead, madam.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining today's webinar on how the revised technical standards will impact you. My name is Nuria Sagrado, and I am the head of the Functional Design Department at REGIS-TR. My colleagues, Elena Mena, who is the Deputy Manager of the department, Raúl Redondo, Business Analyst, and Jonathan Gallo, Business Analyst, will walk you through the content of the revised technical standards release, as well as key aspects you should take into consideration. The presentation will be published in the members area of REGIS-TR website after we finish. The implementation of the revised technical standards will be done on a phase-in approach. Dates and content of the first phase were announced yesterday, and the format supporting this phase will be published today. The schema will be released with the version in the UAT environment. We have also published an updated version of the technical description guide and are in the process of updating the connectivity handbook. But you should not expect any changes with respect to the information already provided in the guide. The technical description guide and the format should serve as the base for customer development. Therefore, you should not wait for the connectivity handbook to be published in order to start your developments. During the presentation, we will cover the following aspects. One section dedicated to the new fields and values introduced with the revised technical standards, in which Elena will also provide an overview of the new field level, new action types, and combination of both per message type. Some key questions that are currently being discussed with ESMA will also be reviewed, such as the modification messages. Then, other changes to be implemented with the revised technical standards will be presented by Jonathan and Raúl. In this section, we will cover the changes to the format, collateral and valuation updates at trade level, and the adaptations to the participant delegation, among other topics. And a final point on delegation control authorization, in which Raúl will give you an overview of the information to be provided and the validations that REGIS-TR will perform over delegated trades. For those of you who have already attended one of the working groups that was organized in March and April, please note that you may find some differences with the information presented. These are derived from the publication of the revised validations rules by ESMA on the 3rd of April and other clarifications that they have provided. Finally, once we have covered the content of the presentation, we will have a Q&A session in which we will review the questions submitted in advance, as well as those that are submitted in the course of our presentation. A Q&A document containing all the questions and the relevant answers will also be made available in the upcoming weeks. I hand over now to Elena, who will start with the presentation. Enjoy it.
Good morning to everyone. Once again, thank you for joining us today and hope you find this webinar helpful. So let's start and go to the first slide, slide number 3, with one of the main changes of this revised technical standards, which is the inclusion of the field level, which will be used to determine whether the record is a transaction or a position. As you know, at REGIS-TR right now, positions are differentiated from transactions because the field venue is left blank and the field compression is set to yes. Once the revised technical standards are implemented, participants shall use this field level set to P for this purpose. Both transactions and positions will continue to be received via the R001 as of now. There are also 2 new action types. R will be a new action type of the modification messages. From the revised technical standard onwards, the action type M has to be exclusively used to communicate a change in the terms of the contract, while the R should be used to amend or correct a reported value. The second new action type, P, will be an option in the EX messages, and the one to be used by those clients wanting to reduce from 2 to 1 message the ETD transaction reporting. The usage of this action type substitutes the EX message with action type N, plus the TE message with action type C. However, those clients who doesn't want to change this flow can still report in the current way. Although I will go more into detail on the next slide, let me anticipate you that records with level P will only be permitted in the R001 file, while records with the action type P will only be permitted in the R010 file. Okay, this next slide, we can see what combination of action types and levels is allowed in which message types. Those in green are allowed, while those in red are not permitted. So let's start with the XT-BK messages. If we look into section A, you can see that for the R001 file, the N plus T combination is permitted and shall be used to report a new OTC transaction. Now please keep the ETD reference included into brackets on your mind, as we will come back to it in a couple of slides. The N plus T combination is also allowed and shall be used to report a new position, replacing the current way in which they are reported. In this case, we cannot keep using the way in which you currently report position as of now, basically because the field venue has become mandatory for the action types N and P. So this will become the only way to report positions upon the revised technical standards implementation. The action type P is not permitted in the R001 file in any of its combinations, not combined with the level T, as action type P is exclusively used as a simpler way to report ETD transactions and its compression, and should be therefore only used in R010 files, and not combined with the level P because ESMA does not permit it. Now let's analyze the action type B used on VU and CU messages, collateral and valuation update messages. This action type is permitted in combination of both levels, C and P, to update collateral at trade or position level, depending on what you want. You will use one or the other level indicator. To update collateral at portfolio level, you will use, again, the T or the P based on the composition of the portfolio, whether there's trades or positions. Valuations may be updated at trade level, and again, the level field shall be used accordingly. Moving now to the section B, we see that both action types N and P are admitted in the EX messages, but only at T level though. As I mentioned before, both options for ETD transaction reporting will be available. The current one using the action type N plus the level T, and then obviously the compression, or the new one combining the action type P plus the level T using just one message. Since positions are to be reported using the R001 file, combination of the action type N or P with the level P are not permitted in the R010 file. And regarding the action type V for ETD, as my colleague Raul will explain you afterwards, we have enabled the option to report collateral valuation for ETD and CFD transactions at transaction level, but it won't be done through the R010, but through the R001. However, we will come into detail on how to report these collateral and valuation updates afterwards. Okay, let's move now to the next slide, please. Thank you. And let's now analyze how modification and termination messages are going to work. With the R001 files, all the combination and action type and the field level are permitted, apart from the action type set plus the level P, which is not permitted by ESMA. If we go to the section, on section D, you see that for the R010 files, all the combination of the action types and the level P are allowed, and any in combination with the level P may be used. Okay, this slide is the current and the new way to report ETD transaction and positions. So again, currently the ETD transaction must be reported via EX messages with action type N plus a TE message with action type set. The final position is reporting using an XP message where the field venue is left blank and the field compression is set to yes. After the implementation of the revised technical standards, this way of reporting the transaction will still be permitted. However, the new field level P shall be populated in the EX message. Alternatively, if you want to use just one message, participants may send an EX message with the action type P and the level T. However, in both cases, in terms of position reporting, the current way can no longer be used, and must be substituted by the following: an XT message with action type N and level P. For those clients who do not maintain positions but want to update collateral and valuation, we have enabled the following solutions. They will report the ECD transaction using an XT message via the R001 file with action type N and level T, and the collateral and valuation update will be done using R002 and R003 files, and will have to be done at trade level, that is trade by trade. This is the reference I asked you before to remind at the beginning of the presentation, because this is something new, a new flow which is going to go through the R001 file. Okay, slides 7 and 8 contain some of the doubts raised to ESMA by REGIS-TR and the feedback we have recently received from them. The first two questions refer to an important topic for participants as well as for the TR, which is the modifications. REGIS-TR, because REGIS-TR was the easiest way for clients to proceed, we firstly proposed ESMA to apply the same logic as the one used for the level 2 validation, that is, that only those fields included in the modification message would be validated against the new rules if it happened that one of those fields was directly or indirectly affected by the new validations. ESMA has responded that TR accepting partial modification and correction reports, that's our case, must ensure that participants provide all the applicable data elements for the first modification correction sent after implementation of the revised technical standards. In the same line, REGIS-TR intended to validate the UTI just on the trade reception and not on further reports on that same UTI, considering that there are trades reported pre-level 2 validations containing special characters, and as you know, according to the revised technical standards, the UTI should be rejected. Well, ESMA has responded that UTI should be validated in all transaction reports. Now it's the REGIS-TR intention to consult ESMA again on this topic to further clarify certain points. For example, when talking about modification logic issue, when they refer to the applicable data elements, do they refer to elements of a modification message or elements of a new reported trade? REGIS-TR will keep you updated on any of these topics. Okay. Now we have open to other questions. Sorry, I forgot to say something. Regarding modification, there is another important point to be considered by participants, which is that trades identified with an interim trade ID will need to be updated with a trade ID before the revised technical standard implementation, so that participants are able to send further messages over that particular trade after November the 1st. Now, yeah. Okay, on this slide, another two questions raised to ESMA. The first one is regarding the energy section and whether the field from 67 to 77 shouldn't only be reported if field delivery type was populated with P as per physical. And ESMA states that both physical and financial derivatives related to EU gas or electricity should be reported in the same way. So there's no distinction for them, and they should both include all the details. And the last question relates to the field strike price notation, which is field 281, and how participants have to populate this field when the field strike price is populated with the dummy value 14 times the 9, 5 times the 9, as per non-available. The answer provided by ESMA is that even if the price is not available, the entity should be able to determine how the strike price should be expressed for given instrument. This slide shows some of the changes that the revised technical standard implies. Out of the three, I would like to highlight the fact that most of the fields which include identifiers, for most of the fields which include identifiers, only alias will be permitted, while there will be only two of them where CLT, that is the client code, will be allowed with our ID of the other counterparty and beneficiary. And this last slide closing my presentation shows as a summary some of the fields which have been newly included in the reporting, some of the ones which have been renamed, and some of the ones which have been removed. This first block, referring to the new data fields and values, finishes here, and I will now give the word to my colleagues Raúl and Jonathan. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hi. Okay, we are going to see other changes to be implemented with the revised technical standard now. We will see 7 slides in which we can resume all the changes. So first one is going to be the action type N and V to be populated by participants instead of by REGIS-TR. So currently, we will see right now. Currently for XT, VK, and EX messages, we automatically assign the action type M by the system once the messages reach REGIS-TR. However, with the new RTSs, you know that the action type is another possible value, which is the position reporting. Therefore, this field should no longer be filled by the system, and instead participants should populate it. So the first report received for a given UTI by the reporting counterparty shall only contain value N or P. So if the first report for a given UTI by the counterparty in which action types M, E, C, R, Z, or V, REGIS-TR will reject all these action types, all these messages. So you know that the action type V as well, currently, we automatically assign the action type once we receive evaluation and collateral messages. From the 1st of November, with the new revised technical standard, VU and CU messages will be enhanced, and the action type V should be populated by the clients or participants as well. So these are one of the main changes in the reporting. Let's go into the next slide, which is the delegation P removal. We have seen that REGIS-TR has right now the participant delegation implemented, which consisted of the limited capacity to modify the data of a certain trade, where one reporting participant had delegated the reporting to another participant. ESMA has stated that the full delegation must allow in the reporting. It means that the delegated entity will have the full control of the reporting. So you can see there different scenarios before and after the implementation. Before, for XT and X messages, reported delegation P is permitted, but from the 1st of November, we are going to remove the delegation P and will not be permitted. Regarding the MX and NE messages, for delegation P, the RP1, which is the delegated entity, may amend its own counterparty data and the common data. And in the future, from the 1st of November, the delegated entity may amend as well the counterparty data of the reporting to the delegating reporting. This is going to be one of the main changes. For delegating entity, for the RP2, the delegated entity, now they can amend its own counterparty data, but in the future they cannot amend, they will not be able to amend his own counterparty data. They are only be able to send the modification with action type V. Regarding the termination messages, TT and TE messages, and as well as the collateral and valuation messages, there are not going to be any change in that. The delegated entity may terminate both legs of the trade, and regarding the collateral and valuation, the delegated entity and the delegating entity both can update its own collateral and valuation information there. So for this flows, there are not going to be changes. Well, continuing with the section changes to be implemented with the revised technical standards, we have point number 3 that refers to the obligation to report both counterparties in all messages, regardless the delegation scenario. According to ESMA, all messages must include the identifications of party D1 and party D2. Also the corresponding mirror effect, the counterparty ID2 and counterparty D1 in case of delegation, and in both formats, XML and CSV. Basically, the following chart summarizes that all messages, whether are delegated or not, they must include this information. For the first set, ID1, ID2, and the corresponding mirror effect, ID2, ID1. This type of construction is pretty similar to the one that is already present in our XML format for new entries. Nonetheless, this premise will apply too for the modification messages, the termination messages, the collateral updates, and the evaluation update messages too. And basically, allowing the following changes, that counterparties must be always included, at least in the first counterparty data set. And in delegation scenarios, these messages also must contain the reporting, also must be reported with 2 counterparty data sets. Detailing further these changes, we have the point number 4, which refers to the CSV and XML harmonization. REGIS-TR has developed a harmonization between the CSV and XML file, for which includes the new fields, the adjustments and adaptation of current fields imposed by ESMA due to the new revised technical standards, alignment of fields, order, and reorganization of all of them. Fields that belong to a data set and common data section will be better grouped by the corresponding section. Currently, on CSV files, just one counterparty identification of set fields is being informed. Now with the new implementation, CSV files will include a second counterparty identification of set, so that the mirror image of parties' identification can be populated in delegation scenarios. Also, many fields do not follow common structure in the CSV and the XML file. For example, naming and the order in which fields are placed is not the same for both file types. So REGIS-TR has designed to realign these fields so both file types, CSV and XML, will have the same order. The CSV message structure will be updated in order to be like the XML message structure. Names will also be updated. Well, now I'm going to hand over to Raul to continue with point number 5. Yeah, another important point of change is the enable collateral and valuation reporting for ETD trades. So ESMA has required REGIS-TR to give the opportunities to clients to allow reporting the collateral and valuation for ETD transactions. So we have developed this tool. Reporting now, you know that for collateral reporting and valuation update, REGIS-TR permits both for OTC transaction and ETD and CPD positions right now. In the case of collateral updates at both levels, trade ID and portfolio level. But for collateral and valuation for R010 files, which is ETD and CPD transaction, right now it's not enabled. So customers must always update collaterals at trade level or at portfolio level via R001 channel. So from now on, from the 1st of November, reporting upon the new revised technical standard, REGIS-TR will permit the collateral reporting for ETD transactions and valuating update for ETD transactions as well. So it will be done through the R001 and R003 collateral messages. This is the for collateral. And R001 and R002 files in case of valuation messages. So just to sum up, for collateral evaluation updates reporting, clients who want to evaluate or send the collaterals at trade level, they must send the ETD and CFD transaction through the R001 channel. I mean, reporting with action type N and level T for transaction, and then report the collateral update through the R001 or R003 channel, and the evaluation through the R001 or R002 channel. So if they want to report at position level, they can do as currently done. I mean, they have to report the position via the R001 and the transaction as currently done by the XT message and later compressed by action type N and set the compression, sorry. And in case of they want to use the new way of reporting the XT message, just sending the X message with the action type P. So this one will be one of the most important changes right now, to enable collateral evaluation reporting for ETD trades through a new channel for R601. So let's move to the next one, which is the backloading.
Okay. Point number 6 refers just to a mere extension of the period on the reporting of OTC derivatives and ETD. The extension for backloaded trades will be until February 2019. The next point, field erasing protocol. Well, this is just basically an enhancement of the modification messages that allow to erase information already reported. Currently, it is in place for the R001 channel, and it will be implemented for the R010 channel. Following the main premises will be mandatory fields cannot be erased. We will have updated cross-validations to erase the information. These validations will be the same for the R01 and R010 report channel. As in the same way you need to comply with certain validations to report certain fields, you will need to comply again with certain validations to erase these fields. We will keep for the CSV format the command null as the command to erase the information. And for the XML format, we will also maintain the same nomenclature, which is basically or an example, if you wish to erase the field corporate sector, the tag must be created as follows. And the last point will be that empty fields shall not receive an erasing command, as this will lead to a rejection. Now I will hand over to Raul to continue with the delegation authorization control.
Okay, delegation authorization control. This is one of the points that are going to be with the new RTSs from the 1st of November. So ESMA has required PRs to control who is authorized to report on whose behalf. So REGIS-TR needs to control the identifiers of the counterparties that have been authorized to report on behalf of others. So REGIS-TR will implement the corresponding delegation controls. So just in order to do it, REGIS-TR will ask clients to send 2 files. One is going to be the R020 file, which is the authorized reporting entities CSV file. This is we're going to require 2 RP accounts, reporting participants accounts, and non-reporting entities to send a list of authorized LEIs or entities in which they are authorized to report on their behalf. So this information is going to be the one which is going to be implemented in the system control. Another one is going to be the R021 file, which is the delegating reporting entities CSV file. In this case, we are going to ask reporting participants and third parties accounts to send the list of direct customers on behalf of whom they report to REGIS-TR. This information is not going to be stored in the REGIS-TR database, and this is not going to be used to build the system control. But the point is that ESMA requires to send both files, there is not going to be in the first step cross-validation between both, but maybe in the future is going to be one of the requirements that ESMA is going to impose to the repositories. So this is why we are going to ask clients to send both files. In order to send both files, we will enable a new section in the private area of the clients. One is going to be the authorized reporting entity CSV file, and the other one the delegated reporting entity CSV file. So this way is the only way to send the information to REGIS-TR. So there is not going to be other channel to send this information. So in case there any inconsistency between the information received by the R010 file, which is the authorized reporting entity CSV file, and the data reported by clients through the messages, then REGIS-TR will flag these trades. They are not going to reject these trades at the beginning, and we will inform the NCAs and ESMA of all of these flag trades. We are going to enable as well the unauthorized delegated trade report, which is going to be the D438, and we will create it to incorporate all the flagged trades to clients. So this will be an end-of-day report, and all the participants which are involved in those trades will receive this report at the end of the day. So these are the main points for this delegation authorization control. You will receive communication in the next month, just in order to provide more information of how to report all of this information to REGIS-TR. So we are still working on it in the development, and clients will be informed of all this new tool.
We hope you have found our presentation today useful. As I mentioned during the introduction of the webinar, we will be publishing it in the private area of our website so that you can consult it. Still, if you have questions after we finish the whole webinar, we encourage you to direct them to our EMIR support email address, so that they can answer your questions. We are going to enter now into the Q&A session, so I will hand over again to my colleagues who will be going through the different questions that we have received, and we will provide answers to them.
Okay, please confirm our assumption that the clearing time standstill can be left blank for intra-group trade where clearing does not take place. Confirm that this is the correct approach. Well, if the field cleared is populated with N, this field shall be left blank independently if the contract was entered as an intra-group transaction or not.
Okay, next question is, please advise whether a predefined confirmation timestamp for intra-group trades is permitted. We can say that REGIS-TR must validate as per ESMA rules that the confirmation timestamp be reported under the ISO 8601 date and time format and must be greater or equal to the value of the field 2.25, which is the execution timestamp, unless the default date is used.
Well, our next question is also related for an intra-group OTC trade. What should be populated in case of product classification field in absence of an ISIN or an IA code? First of all, you have to remember that this is a mandatory field and needs to be populated with the only two available options that ESMA clarifies, which are a CFI and a UPI. Please bear in mind that the CFI code can be constructed by yourself in order to classify your derivative product.
If venue of execution, which is field 215, is populated with XXXX or a mixed code located outside EEA, then product identification type, field 2.5, will not be subject to reconciliation even though both counterparties are located within the EEA. Well, I have to say that in terms of the inter-TR reconciliation process under the new, under the revised technical standards, REGIS-TR together with the rest of TRs, we're currently reviewing those terms. So for the time being, there are still some open points in the terms of the inter-tier reconciliation.
Next question is the underlying identification type, former underlying ID type. Can it be blank or shall it be blank when field asset class 2.2 is populated with CO or CU? ESMA says it can, and our documentation, REGIS-TR documentation, says shall. We are realizing indeed that underlying identification type can be blank when the field asset class is populated with CO or CU. Therefore, we will amend our documentation accordingly to say can instead of shall.
Okay, and next question is related to the format of the field exchange rate 1 and forward exchange rate. When populated, this field shall contain up to 10 numerical digits, including decimals. It's unclear if you intend to use floating decimals or a fixed decimals. That is yet to be announced. Well, ESMA has clarified in their documentation that these two fields contain up to 10 numerical digits and might include up to 9 decimals plus 10. It's a floating. It has a floating decimal criteria.
Next question is related to complex trades. If a previously reported but still alive complex trade were reported on a single line, will we have to split them as multiple derivative contracts, or this new rule will apply only for new trades? So we can say that this rule will only apply for new reported trades from the 1st of November 2017. So trades reported in a single trade before the new RTSs, there's not necessary to send any message to split in several reports. So this rule only applies from new reported trades.
Okay, next question. The split of legs like fixed rate payment frequency and following. I would like to check if the split between frequency leg 1 or 2 time period and frequency leg 1 or 2 multiplier matches the current field frequency leg 1 or 2. Well, we must say that ESMA has not yet defined any mapping criteria between the pre and post revised technical standard fields.
CU message. I would like to check if 0 is an accepted value for the field initial margin posted or received, variation margin posted or received, and for excess collateral posted or received. Well, ESMA's limitation to these fields is that the negative values are not allowed. So yes, I guess 0 is an accepted value.
Next question. In case of a bilateral portfolio, financial institution with the signed convention, there is no distinction between initial margin and valuation margin. Just an exchange which is like a variation margin but not initial margin. The distinction should enter into force in 2020. In the next validation, initial margin and valuation margin posted or received are mandatory. REGIS-TR cannot provide any advice on this. We recommend to revert this question to your national competent authority.
Okay, next question. Field venue of execution. In case of a pure OTC transaction, the value 4 times X will be still accepted. Well, our answer is yes. Where a contract was concluded OTC and the respective instrument is not admitted to trading or traded on a trading venue, mid-code, the 4 times X's value shall be accepted.
For ETD, there is a new way to report transactions. However, you mentioned that participants can keep the current protocol. I would like to check if the action type for the XT message will be P. Well, first I have to say that ETD transaction should not be reported using an XT but an EX message. If you want to still use the current protocol, you should use the action type N plus level T and then the impression. Or if you want to avoid sending 2 messages and send just 1, you have to send an EX message with the action type P and the level T. Next question, I'm not sure whether the person who sent us this question was referring to an ETD position or ETD transaction, because he's mentioning, well, I will read the question, and based on what I understand he refers to, I will answer. New way of ETD position reporting, reported trade CL, format R010, action type P, level field T or P. He's asking us whether the level field should be T or P. Well, that's why I assume he's talking about transactions, because he mentions the reported trade CL, which refers to our R010 file. And in this case, the answer would be you should choose whether you want to use the new way or the current way, but always with the level T in both cases. And then I will take this opportunity to answer also how to report the position. Again, the position should be reported using an XT message via our R001 file with action type new and level P.
Next question. Under the new validation rules, when the collateral portfolio field is populated with Y, the other fields are mandatory, initial and variation margin fields, or they can be left blank. Okay, when collateral portfolio is set to Y, the only mandatory field for the action type N should be the collateral portfolio code. Initial and variation margin fields are optional fields in the XT message, since they can also be reported in a collateral update message afterwards.
Next question, related to the product identification, ISIN. Will non-financial counterparty miners receive ISIN codes also from the financial counterparty when the derivative is traded, such as the UTI? Well, we understand that all the information related to the terms of the contract, such as the UTI, the underlying price, should be known for both counterparties of the trade.
Next question refers to the product classification, UPI. How will NSC miners receive an UPI? Will it be the same process as the UTI? This would mean that XC provides the NSC miners the UPI when the derivative is traded. The same question applies for the CFI as long as the UPI is not available. Well, as you know, the UPI is not yet endorsed, and regarding the CFI code, we apply the same answer as the previous question. So this information should be available and known for both counterparties when at the time they do close the trade.
Next question refers to the new field level. One participant says, as a non-financial counterparty, we trade only FX forwards and swaps and interest rate swaps. Does that mean this new field level should only show T as a trade transaction? Yes, we understand that these OTC products are reported at trade level as being OTC.
Okay, next question related to fair value according to IFRS 13. ESMA says that the fair value of contracts should be reported according to the IFRS 13 measurement. This is counterparty information, and counterparties therefore do not need to agree on the valuation. The question is, does this mean it will not be reported as error if counterparties do not report different valuation? Please bear in mind that daily valuation and collateral information are not subject to reconciliation, but market participants in any case need to correctly reflect these values. Therefore, counterparty must send the correct valuation applying the fair value according to the IFRS 13.
Next question refers to the current connectivity handbook reporting participant, the version 1.14, and participants ask if this connectivity handbook already contains any of the necessary changes that came into force from the 1st of November, and if not, when will a new connectivity handbook be available? Okay, we can say that the new the connectivity handbook version 1.14 does not contain any of the changes that come into force from the 1st of November. The new connectivity handbooks that include the new RTS changes will be provided once the test environment is available. I mean, from the 3rd of July, more or less. Sorry. Next question is, will field action tag be the field that has to be filled in by us with N for a new contract? Will it state that this new position in this CSV file, or will this position change in this CSV file? This is one of the question that we have seen in the presentation. Currently, XT, BKey, EX messages are automatically assigned with action type N by the system when they reach REGIS-TR. However, with the new RTSST's action type T for position components and another possible value, therefore this field can no longer be filled in by the system and participants should populate it. So the action type field will change its position in the CSV file as there will be a realignment of fields order and a reorganization of all of them in the CSV file.
The new field country of the other counterparty, is this the same field as in the current CSV R001 report named counterparty country 2? Will it be renamed? Will the position of this field change then? Country of the other counterparty is a new field in the revised technical standard. Indeed, it corresponds to the current counterparty country 2. It will be aligned with the field name given by ESMA, and the position of the field will change as we are, as my colleagues mentioned before, we are aligning the XML and CSV files.
Next question is related again to the country of the other counterparty. One participant says, if the other counterparty is a bank, do we as non-financial counterparty have to fill this field too? We can say that the field counterpart country is a mandatory field independently of the nature of the counterparty. So they have to fill it.
Okay, next question is related to the field level. Is it mandatory? And also in the CSV R001 report, where is the field position? Well, we confirm that yes, it is mandatory for all messages. And well, regarding the position, I think it's to better check the format we're going to release to all the clients. The format we're going to release to all the clients where it specifically states where it's going to be positioned, this field.
Okay, if corporate sector ID 1 becomes mandatory for NSC, what happens to the field corporate sector ID 2? Will it also be mandatory? Well, corporate sector ID 2 field will be mandatory for SCs and NSCs in case of delegated trade.
Okay, another question related to erased fields in CSV. Will the fields name ID 1 and domicile ID 1 will be erased and have to be left out of the CSV R001 report? Yes, actually both fields will be deprecated, and in the new CSV templates they will no longer appear. Okay.
When field party ID 1 changes to reporting counterparty ID, will the field party ID type 1 also change to reporting counterparty ID type? Indeed, type of the ID of the counterparty, of the reporting counterparty, and ID of the reporting counterparty are the new renamed fields.
The new field type of ID of the beneficiary in the current CSV R001 report, we already have the field beneficiary ID type 1 and 2. Is it the same? Indeed, these fields are the same. Currently, beneficiary ID type 1 and 2 are REGIS-TR proprietary fields. With the new RTSs, ESMA has introduced the type of ID of the beneficiary as a new field, but they already existed for REGIS-TR.
Next question relates to the new field asset class. Does the position of this field change in CSV R001 report to the position of the erased field product ID 1? Indeed, the field asset class is a new field for ESMA. However, this field is currently a proprietary field for REGIS-TR. So the new asset class field has the same values as our current proprietary field, except for the value OT for other, which will not be accepted by the revised technical standards.
Okay, next question related to the new fields, product classification type and product classification. In case of a simple forward exchange transaction, a currency forward, do these fields have to be filled? Yes, both fields must be filled as they are mandatory for action type N. Another question, what is exactly meant by other category? Well, we understand by other category, or that you should use the other category, but the proposed values do not fit the details of the product you are trying to report.
Next question relates to the delegation control. REGIS has indicated that the delegating party must somehow authorize the delegation of reporting, and that is delegation of reporting must be recorded in REGIS-TR for delegation reporting to work. So, as previously said, ESMA requires TRs to control who is authorized to report on behalf of whom. Therefore, RPs accounts and non-reporting accounts will be required to send a CSV file to inform of the list of authorized third parties and reporting participants accounts that will report on their behalf. So trades will be flagged, not rejected, if there is any inconsistencies between the information received in the authorized report entity CSV file and the data reported by clients.
Okay, EMIR distinguishes, EMIR 2.0 distinguishes the action types of modify from those of a correction. We need to understand if REGIS has validation rules that only allow certain fields to be changed for certain action types, and if so, what those fields are. Well, indeed, we will make such a distinction as ESMA has indicated in their validation table, and I don't have the one second, I have the table in front of me. If I remember correctly, there are three fields which are compression, venue of execution, and there's another one which they cannot be modified with the action type M, but they can be corrected. There's another one, there's one with termination date. So those three fields, they can be, they cannot be modified, but they can be corrected with the action type R.
Okay, next question is related to the collateral evaluation and messages, the current ones, with the R002 and R003. A participant said that if these messages will still be used for reporting these collateral evaluation updates. We can say that indeed R002 and R003 will be maintained to send the evaluation and collateral messages.
Okay, next question. The transaction valuations and the collateral updates should not be included in the transaction and position files. Well, in the last update, ESMA changed this point, and now valuation and collateral messages or information can be reported in the initial R001 or R010 file, or on a later on by valuation or collateral message.
Regarding new form of reporting position, it says that it's possible to choose if we want to keep reporting them as EX equals N plus, EX with action type N plus TE action type Z, or just with the new action type P. However, we would like to know what the long-term plans are for this. Would you eventually just permit the new action type P? If so, we will probably make the effort of changing this now, otherwise we might not. Well, I have to say that this option was strongly demanded by the industry, precisely to avoid the duplicate, sending two messages, and they wanted to just send one. ESMA has now provided the opportunity to the industry to just send one message, including the action type N plus the subsequent compression. I don't think ESMA has plans to change that on the long term. So yes, please remind that we just follow ESMA instructions. It's not something which is on REGIS-TR's hands. So we understand that the plans are that both options will still be available for a long time. So.
Next question relates to the LEI check against the GLAID database. In relation to the validation of the reporting counterparty ID, you know that REGIS-TR is only going to accept the LEI's check against the GLAID database. Clients are asking us if this validation is going to be done by the repository, or is it something that we have to do it in advance by the clients. So in order to avoid rejections, REGIS-TR recommends participants to do a first validation of the LEIs against the GLAID database. REGIS-TR will validate LEIs against this GLAID database, and only those LEIs included in the database and for which the status is one of the allowed status depending on the field according to the ESMA validations will be accepted. Otherwise, REGIS-TR will reject all the records.
Well, next question is related to the impossibility of one of our clients to download the ESMA new RTS's validation table. Well, for this, we just want to comment that our new release document, EMIR Technical Description Revised Technical Standards, includes the link to ESMA website where you can download this document.
Okay, we are receiving an increased number of questions around the schemas, handbooks, when the presentation will be available, and also the Q&A. So I'll go through them again now. For the presentation, as I've mentioned before, we will publish it in the members area of REGIS-TR website once we finish the webinar. The schemas will be published when the version is released in the UAT environment, but we are publishing today the format. In that document you will find both the XML and CSV formats, so that document together with the technical guide that we have already published should be enough for you to make an assessment on your development. If you still have questions on that, we encourage you to send them to our customer support team, and we will be happy to assist you. On the availability of the test environment, we sent out a communication yesterday informing of the phase 1 content and the different sub-phases that are planned. So first phase will be available on the 3rd of July, and the whole first phase is focused on the inbound messages and the intraday responses. There are also questions on the end of period reports that we have not published yet. We are in the process of defining both the content and the format of these files. In regards to the content, we have tried to incorporate the feedback that we have already received from you in order to make the end of period reports more useful for your daily activity. So we plan to publish the formats and the definition of the reports adapted to the revised technical standards in a couple of weeks' time. So we'll continue now with more questions that we are receiving while we are speaking. First question would be the basis OTC swaps and forwards will be reported only as message R001 with indication T field level.
Yes, this kind of OTC product should be reported with a level T indicator.
Another question, if we report in the name of a client, the currency in report must be the currency of the contract or can be in local currency?
No, it has to be the currency which has been agreed by the counterparties in the contract.
Another question on collateral reporting. Regarding collateral reporting, the currency of the new field must be in contract currency, or can we also be local currency? For this one, I think it's the same answer. If a client delegates to us the reporting, table fields 3, 4, and 5 should reflect the delegating client details. We're checking the name of the field.
Yeah, so it's type C of the...
So apologies for the technical issue that we've just had. So we'll continue with the questions. As we are going to publish the Q&A very soon, you will be able to follow all the questions in case you have missed something. So next question is related to the delegation scenario. We understand that it refers to the participant delegation. The question is if the reporting participant one can continue to send evaluation for the reporting participant 2.
Yeah, indeed, there is not going to be any change on that. So delegating and delegated reportings both can send evaluation and collateral messages for them.
Another question is related to fields that have different values depending on the date of application of MIFIR RTS. The question is if this has been understood correctly by the person sending the question.
As far as if I'm not mistaken, there are only 2 fields that mention, let me see, there are only 2 fields, which is the venue, I think. Here. One of them is product identification type. We've mentioned how it should be validated before and after the date of application of MIFIR RTS on reference data. And the other one, I think it was the venue, if I'm not mistaken. But it's on the validation table ESMA has published. So yeah, here it is. It's the venue of execution. We also mentioned the different validation rules before and after. Those are the only 2 fields that have a specific different treatment before and after. Another question that suggests that we use the production data in order to fit the new UAT environment so that the clients can test their go-live scenarios. Well, for audit purposes, and we are not allowed to use your production data and move that into the UAT environment. So, unfortunately, that will not be possible. For the fields erased by ESMA, for already reported bills. The question is if they need to be removed by the participant or only not processed on new messages after the 1st of November. Yeah, they don't need to be removed. It's only that from the 1st of November onwards, those trades cannot be reported. Those fields cannot be reported.
On the first reporting day with the new RTS, we plan to send a modification for every outstanding trade to report all new and all changing fields. Would this approach be correct from ESMA and REGIS-TR point of view for going live? Well, this is we don't have an opinion to that, but how you should proceed will also depend on the conversation that we are having with ESMA as to how the outstanding trades should be updated. There's another question on outstanding positions open at the end of October, which will expire after the reporting start date for the revised RTS. The question is if REGIS-TR is expecting any activities from participants for migrating into the new format. Will it be possible to modify positions set before November? Well, this is in line with the previous questions. It will be possible to modify them, but how you should modify outstanding trades will depend on the guidance that we are pending from ESMA. There's a question on delegation reporting, if the list of customers will be validated.
We are going to validate if the LEI codes received for authorized entities are registered in REGIS-TR. Otherwise, the CSV files are going to be rejected, and we are going to request clients to resend again the CSV file with the registered participants. So we are not going to allow any LEI code which is not REGIS-TR member.
We are almost reaching the end of our webinar, so we'll go through 3 more questions, and then we'll be closing the webinar for today. Another question on the delegation authorization control, and it's if the R020 and R021 will be available via the web service.
The only channel will be the private area. There's not going to be any other channel like SFTP or something like that, or web service, to send these files. So only the private area are going to be the way to send it.
There's a question on the implementation in production of the revised technical standards, if it will be on the 1st of November or a little earlier. This is a very good question, actually, and we are in conversations with ESMA because we understand the risks of implementing the version in the middle of the week. So we are pushing ESMA to understand that it's not feasible, and that we can implement the version on the weekend before the 1st of November. And we go to the last question today. And a question on the field erasing protocol. If disallowing erasing of erase brings a lot more complex implementation on our side, if it is really necessary. I'm not sure we understand the question, but maybe very briefly, Jonathan, you can explain again the adaptation that we've done to the field erasing protocol, just in general terms.
Well, the field erasing protocol basically is a feature of the modification messages, and the origin is that previously you cannot erase or modify all the information in case of error. So, for example, if you think about a trade that has not been cleared by any CCP and you populate this information previously, this field could not be erased, and it was leading to mismatches all the time. So this is the nature of why this protocol has to be implemented, is in order to achieve a better data quality and to comply with the reporting. So you and your counterparty will have the opportunity to actually reach to better reconciliation rates.
Okay, so we don't have more time to go through more questions, but as we've mentioned, we will produce a Q&A document that will be published on the members area of REGIS-TR. So I just want to thank you for attending today's webinar, and we hope you have found it of interest and that it is of help for your adaptations to the revised technical standards. So in the name of the team, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. The conference has